All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this segment of the Accelerated Broadcast Club curriculum here. In this video, we're looking at the technical implementation of the Griswold High School case study that we have. They use vMix with up to 3 or 4 computers, 3 licenses of vMix, all connected over their local area network to create an amazing video production for their morning announcement show. Really, I think one of the best, and I wanted to make a quick note of some of the things that they're doing in their broadcast club to increase responsibility and really make sure that everyone's on the same page. So the first thing they have here on the right-hand side is they have the morning announcements set up, right? So they have, obviously the couch is off limits until the job is done. Little things like that, making sure that things are all right. And they even have a tardiness policy that we'll talk about. But clearly having and posting times of day on what's going to happen until the time of that they go live is incredibly important. In fact, we have templates for you can download to do something like this yourself at your broadcast club. Thank you, Tom Sinclair from Eastern Shore Broadcasting, for delivering us those. But you want to have something posted, and obviously you need to have a plan. So you can see here the first students start arriving at 7:15, and the latest director arrives at 7:25. A director, as we looked at in our last video, is somebody who's in charge of the entire production or a large portion of the production. Now, at 7:25, we have this 10-minute warning. So this is when all the cameras are plugged in. We make sure the trim on the microphones are set, and we start adjusting the credits. The credits are a title that is showed at the end of the show, which include all of the students that are there for that day and making this production happen. Later on, we have a 5-minute warning, and all cameras must be on their tripods, visible to the switcher. The microphone trim is set. There's an AV test. We're checking all the cameras. We're setting and adjusting that chroma key that is on our weatherman, and we'll talk about all of that in this specific video. And we're going to turn off the mics on set because we're going to get ready to go live. And they actually start, when they switch on this Lightronics to channel 6, you don't need to know what that is, but essentially it broadcasts out to the public access channel 6 station in the Griswold, Connecticut area. And they turn off the PA speakers. Now, when they're really getting close, 30-second warning, it's quiet on set. Everybody knows it's time to get ready, and keep an eye on that countdown. There's a countdown with 10 seconds, and then they go live. So something like that, having that posted in your broadcast club if you're doing morning announcements, is important. Now, over here we have the how to direct scale, and this is something we reviewed in our last video, so I'll just breeze through it. But this is some of the things that those directors who are so important are thinking about, and we talked about it in our last video. So the 3P pledge, this is another thing that is posted in the Griswold High School Broadcast Club. And I just want to read this because I think it's something that's set a high standard. These broadcast clubs are extracurricular. They're elective. The students here are coming to a higher level to be participants in the broadcast club. And so this is posted. It says, we are professional. We set high standards and emulate the experts. We are proficient. We're able to use all the equipment in the room and produce high quality video. And we're proactive, meaning we anticipate shortcomings and problems before they arise and we prevent them. So it's really important. We looked at this, in case you missed this, basically we have the producer, which is the teacher, the director, which is usually a senior, a technical director doing the switching, someone in charge of audio. And in a moment here, we'll look at how those teleprompters are set up to help our camera operators and our on-screen talent all stay in sync together. So here is a look at the wiring diagram of the video production setup. So first of all, they have the main vMix computer, and we talked about how that is connected. It's HDMI to USB. We'll talk a little bit about capture devices in a future video, but into the computer. And then we also have an audio mixer. They're all connected essentially via USB to this computer running the main vMix software. So the technical director really sits here and makes sure that I'm going to put TD there for the technical director. So that's what they're in charge of. Now the audio chief over here, I'll put AC, is obviously in charge of the audio, setting the trims and listening in and making sure everything sounds properly. It's incredibly important. Now the output of this main computer here is going into an HDMI splitter. So they take one HDMI output, split it into 2, and it provides confidence monitors. So confidence monitors are essentially the ability for students to see what is on the broadcast. So they can see how they're positioned. They can see that they're looking at the camera. They can really get an idea, you can see here, of what they're doing. Now, the weatherman also has a camera. So you can see we have 2 cameras there. And then we also have the weatherman in front of a green screen. And we'll talk about how that's set up as well. Now, there's a second computer over here, okay, that shows the weatherman slides. Those are PowerPoint slides. So there's a vMix desktop capture used there. And that whole computer, the whole output of that computer is input into the main vMix computer. So what can happen is, I kind of took this off a little bit, there's a wireless PowerPoint remote that the weatherman can hold. And as he's making his presentation, he can look into his confidence monitor to see what he looks like, see what's behind him, see what he should be talking about, and use that wireless PowerPoint remote to advance the slides on this computer, which are being brought into that computer. I think that's genius. So this allows the weatherman to control what's behind him and what he's talking about without the main, vMix technical director to have to worry about that portion of it. And really the weatherman should have control of it. So I think that's really smart. Now there's a third computer, which is used for the character generator. This is the character generator chief that is in charge of updating the titles. They're using a web controller for vMix. This allows anyone on the local area network with the computer to type in a specific IP address, which can control the vMix system remotely through any web browser. So this allows the students to simply have shortcuts so that they can queue up their titles. So by clicking any of those little shortcuts there, they can queue up any of those titles. There's 4 or 5 of them there. Those are shortcuts that allow them to, let's say, overlay a title, maybe a lower third right there, just through this third computer, not having to worry about the technical director being overcomplicated. And they can also, these are actually 2 web browsers. So one for shortcuts, split into 50-50 here. This is the character generator setup. So those are 2 web browsers split 50-50, one for overlaying shortcuts, another for updating titles. So through this platform, the character generator has their own little space on the computer to update the titles for the day. So they check the titles. Is there a birthday coming up that we need to add to the birthday ticker? Is there a change in the on-screen talent? We need to change their lower third. All of that can be done remotely over a computer like that. So it's really, really cool stuff. So we talked about the countdown, and the important part of all of this is the fact that students can work as a team, because how could you possibly do all of this yourself? There's roughly only 20 minutes till they go live, from when the students walk in the room till they go live. So it has to be a team effort, and it has to be spread out. So looking at vMix here, we can see that there's a preview screen and an output screen. So as a director, as a technical director, your job is to choose from your available sources here. So we've got bunches of available sources. When you click one with your mouse, it goes to the preview window. It doesn't automatically go to the output by default, because you want to kind of queue things up, and then you hit one of these transition buttons to make it go to the output. Now, the live output is what the world is seeing, right? That's what you're recording. That's what you're streaming. That's what the world is seeing. So you have some control of what you're going to do next in the preview window. So just basic kind of thinking here. Now, we'll talk a little bit about these other buttons here. We have the record button. So you can record the entire stream so that, for review later, for uploading to YouTube or Facebook, whatever the plan is. There's the stream button. And the stream button allows you to stream to content delivery networks. We'll talk about live streaming sports, for example. You might want to stream that to YouTube or Facebook so that people can watch. And then there's this full screen button here that I want to recommend as well, which allows you to output the HDMI video via usually HDMI from your computer to another system. So whether you're pumping that to a delivery system or a screen, or in the Griswold's case, the whole Channel 6 network in their local public access channel. So that's how that works. So from a higher level here, we looked at that kind of a little bit more in detail here. We've got one computer. It's the main production PC. The technical director uses that. We've got a second computer that's powering the weatherman slides using PowerPoint, and he's updating those slides and making sure that it's all ready and using a PowerPoint remote to move them forward. We've got a third computer for graphics and titles, and then we actually have a fourth computer which receives the video from the first computer and outputs it to the public television station. So just think about that. Now we're using a local area network, which the school already has in place, to produce a production with up to 4 computers all in one. This is really cutting edge, but it also helps on a budget. This is not an expensive centralized system. This is a system that is incredibly flexible, and vMix licenses, for example, start at just $60. So it's something where almost anybody can get started with this. So this is just another look at this, and I wanted to make sure I provided a lot of detail to you guys, so I'll bring out my highlighter here. The main vMix PC is connected via HDMI to the cameras. So those are HDMI. And then the audio is coming in via USB. And this is what is called a capture card here. So what it'll do is it'll convert HDMI to USB so that we can connect it directly to our computer. Now, as you can see, most everything else, like the vMix 22 station, the video server, and the graphics controller, these are all connected to a local area network. So we've looked at that in a couple different ways. I know it might be new to you, so it's something to think about. And then we did look at this. This is an IP address. This is something to think about as you're learning IP networking. We're going to have a whole chapter on this, but you can basically type that IP address. It might be different depending on your network. You need to look into your settings in vMix to find it, but you can type that in to access control of the entire vMix system remotely from another computer by simply typing in that IP address to any web browser. And that's it, guys. That is a look at the Griswald High School Broadcast Club setup using up to 4 computers to do a live streaming and video production. There's even more in the book, so I will include this chapter in the downloads below so you can get access to that. I just wanted to give you an idea of what it's like to do this kind of video production in a student announcements setting. I can't think of a better way to do it. Obviously, there's different software you can use, but the way that they're connecting all of those computers and providing 10 plus students with active roles in the production is just incredible. In our next chapter of this book, we're going to go over graphics and video animation, and those are critical roles to the Broadcast Club, especially if you're into that kind of thing, graphics and video and animation and design. But those may play somewhat of a side role to the production roles that we talked about. For example, the graphics could be done anytime and then updated and uploaded to vMix, let's say, for this system. So incredibly important roles, fun roles, something that you should probably learn how to do if you want to take your video production to the next level. So we'll talk about that in the next video.